I have a gun, and I'll tell you about it next.
The program you are about to watch is part of a free series we are making available to you as a gift from Greg Fritz Ministries, entitled Godly Prosperity. Visit gregfritz.org to download the MP3s and watch the streaming video for free by entering code FREE at checkout. Are you tired of hearing bad news? Tune into the good news of the gospel. Welcome to Good News with Greg Fritz.
Hello, I'm Greg Fritz. Welcome to the Good News program. We're teaching a series on godly prosperity, and I'm going to tell you about my gun in just a second. I want to encourage you to get the study notes. Go to my website and go to the free download section or free study note section and look for Godly Prosperity. Print these notes out and use them along with this program. If you'd like to get all of these programs, there's 20 in this series, you can stream them right now. Just go to the free download section and look for that, or you can download them in an MP3 format, audio, onto your computer and keep them as my gift to you. This teaching is very practical, and I've come to the point in the teaching where I want to talk about cautions. And when I bought a gun for my self-defense, and I just think it's healthy to let everybody in America and the world know that I have a gun. And I know where it is, and it's loaded. So I just want to put that out there. But when I bought my gun, I went through the gun training course to have the concealed carry permit. And they explained to us not only what a gun would do, but they warned us about how it could harm us or other people because it could be dangerous. If it's not used correctly, somebody could get hurt. And I want to do that with the finances. We have talked about prosperity and how we know it's the will of God, and we see it in the Old Testament, New Testament. It's something you need to believe for, but that doesn't go without caution. And this is why some people have a problem with the prosperity message or prosperity teaching. They think it's all about greed and lust of the flesh and just spending money on things that you don't need. But the scripture has something to say about it. In other words, guns can hurt people. However, we still let people have guns because we believe that most people are going to use them properly. And used properly, they can do some positive things, like defend you. And you know, there's the positive and the negative side of anything. And God's never been one to just say, well, I'm just going to do away with this blessing because some people are going to abuse it. That's not the way God thinks. God believes in you. God believes in us as New Testament believers, and He wants to bless us. But He does have some caution. So I want to look at that. 1 Timothy chapter 6, verse 17 says, "Command those who are rich in this present age not to be haughty, nor to trust in uncertain riches." So he's not saying that those that are rich are wrong. It's wrong to be rich. You shouldn't have any money. He didn't say, command those who are rich in this present age to give it all away and be poor like everyone else. That's not what he said. He said there's going to be rich people. He didn't condemn rich people. He didn't condemn abundance. He just simply said there are some dangers or some cautions that I want to give you about money. If you use money wrong, somebody's going to get hurt. If you use money wrong, you can hurt yourself. So here's what he said. These are two cautions that he gives us. Number one, don't be haughty. So evidently, having money can cause a person to be haughty. Now, that doesn't have to. Obviously, it doesn't have to, because he said don't be. So you do have a choice. You don't have to. Money doesn't make anybody better than anybody else. We're all of equal value before God, and it's not a reason to be proud. And as I've said before, it doesn't mean that all rich people are proud and all poor people are humble. You can be poor and proud just as easily as you could be rich and proud. But he just says, watch for this. Don't be haughty. Don't think of yourself more highly than other people because of your money. That doesn't make you a better person or have more value. But then he says, nor to trust in uncertain riches. And I believe this is the greater concern in this situation. It's so easy for those who have money to put their trust in money because money has a certain amount of power in this world. But that's not proper, that's not right, and it can cause damage. He says, but put your trust in the living God who gives us richly all things to enjoy. So the important thing is not to allow your faith in God to be moved in any way to money if you have more money, or to somehow think that you're secure, safe, that that you don't need help, you need God. You need God's love and God's compassion, God's protection, God's provision. No matter how much money you have, you still need God just as much as when you don't have money. So it's false trust when you transfer any of your faith in God to money. I want to show you this in Luke chapter 12. In Luke chapter 12, we see the story of a rich man. In fact, I'm going to call it a certain man who had uncertain riches. It says in verse 16, Luke chapter 12, then he spoke a parable to them, saying, the ground of a certain rich man yielded plentifully. And he thought within himself, saying, what shall I do, since I have no room to store my crops? So he said, I'll do this. Now, let's just stop right here. This is exactly what we're believing for. We're believing that when we sow, we're going to reap bountifully. So this rich man is getting exactly what we are believing for when we believe in abundant supply. And it's not wrong up to this point. Then he said, then he begins to go off track here. He said, I will do this. I will pull down my barns and build greater, and there I'll store all my crops and my goods. And I will say to my soul, soul, you have many goods laid up for many years. Take your ease, eat, drink, and be merry. So what he's doing is he's saying, now that I have all this money, I am secure. I can trust in this money. This money is making my life totally carefree. He used the money totally for himself. He didn't give it away. He stored it up. He hoarded it. And remember, I said before that it's possible to spend too much. We've all seen that. You could spend more than you need to spend on things you don't need to spend it. But it's also possible to save too much. And that's what this guy did. He saved everything he had. And the conclusion he came to was, I am going to have a big time. I am going to enjoy my life. I've got some guarantees here now because I have money. And it wasn't true, because there are some things that money can't buy. Money can't buy happiness. Money can't buy love, not real love. Money can't buy health at times. And this man had some sort of a physical problem because he died that night. And people get certain diseases and ailments that medical science can't heal. You could have all the money in the world, and medical science can't heal every sickness or disease. Not everyone. And so money is limited in what it can do. So to put your full trust in money is wrong. And that's what he said. Don't put your trust in uncertain riches. They're uncertain because here's this guy. He had everything that came with lots of money, but still didn't have any guarantees. Here's what it says. God said to him, fool, this night your soul will be required of you. Then whose will those things be which you have provided? So this guy spent his whole life, and he got lucky. He got a lot of money. He accumulated a lot of wealth. And his idea was, me and this money are going to live happily ever after. Well, it takes more than you and your money to be happy. It takes more than that to have any guarantees in life. And by doing that, he lost everything, because he didn't get to spend these years with his money eating and drinking and being merry. He thought he would, but he didn't. So it's a disappointment. It lets you down. The only way, because money is only limited to this life. Money can't buy you entrance into heaven. Money can't buy you forgiveness of sins. Money can't buy you favor with God, especially when you hoard it up and keep it all for yourself. And so the Lord said this, so is he who lays up treasure for himself and is not rich toward God. So you can hurt yourself. Money can go to your head and you can use it for the wrong purposes. It's not wrong to be blessed, but don't hoard it up for yourself and put your trust in uncertain riches, but be rich toward God. So the moral here is not to be poor, but it's to trust in God and be rich toward God. You say, well, how do you do that? The way you do that is you don't use all of your wealth on yourself. You don't use all of your time on yourself. You trust and put faith in God, and you choose to be obedient to God and His will for your life. And then you take your wealth, all your possessions, and you make them available to God. So, well, there you go, preacher, you're just wanting my money. No, I'm telling you, money can hurt you if you don't use it properly. And one of the ways to stay free of the control of money and putting your trust in money is to give it away. It breaks that spirit of greed and control that money can influence people with. And there's no need to go down that road. In 1 Timothy, he makes it more clear and gives us some real guidelines to keep us safe when it comes to finances. I already read 1 Timothy 6:17 and 18, but let's go to 1 Timothy 6:9, where he begins to talk about this. He says, "But those who desire to be rich fall into temptation and a snare, and into many foolish and harmful lusts, which drown men in destruction and perdition." That's the road that this rich man was on, that certain rich man. He was taking money, and he fell into the temptation to use it to eat, drink, and be merry. His only goal in life was to take his money and consume it on his own pleasure, his own flesh. And that is the road which leads to destruction and perdition. I want to read this out of another translation. It says in the Message Bible, "If it's only money these leaders are after, they'll self-destruct in no time. Lust for money brings trouble and nothing but trouble. Going down that path, some lose their footing in the faith completely and live to regret it bitterly ever after." I hope that those who criticize me for teaching on prosperity will listen to this episode, because this is our balance. We want to make sure we do this right. I'm not saying that there are no hazards when it comes to prosperity and money. I'm saying I believe we can handle them. I believe we can avoid them. I believe we can use it as a tool to do what it was intended to do. Money has many, many limitations. And when you live in this world and you're worldly minded, you don't think that. But it does have limitations. We need to understand that. It never takes the place of God or our faith in God. And that means if you have faith in God, you could have or lose your money, and you still trust God to take care of you. There are some people, you've seen the videos and the articles of people who have all their money invested in Wall Street, and the stock market crashes, and these guys are jumping out of windows. How stupid could you be? Why would you lose your money and you kill yourself? I mean, is it worth that much? Obviously, these people have craved money, and money has become their God, and it's like their God died. When the money's gone, it's like their God is gone. They have no reason, no purpose to live. You've got to have more purpose than that. Your life has to have more meaning than that. You have to look beyond this life. There's a lot of time and eternity past this life, and money only is temporary. It only affects this world. And so the problem is not having money, but first of all, it's craving money And that's what it says in 1 Timothy 6:9 in the Passion Translation. Those who crave the wealth of this world slip into spiritual snares. And that's a problem. So we are not craving money. We're not lusting after money. We're simply looking at prosperity as a blessing from God, saying, Lord, I believe for that. I want to have more than I need, because I want to do more than pay my bills. I want to do more than live paycheck to paycheck. And certainly it's going to help my quality of life, but I want to have to give to others. And that will help keep you pure and right. But the Passion says, those who crave the wealth of this world slip into spiritual snares. They become trapped by the troubles that come through their foolish and harmful desires, driven by greed and drowning in their own sinful pleasures. And they take others down with them into their corruption and eventual destruction. That is, wow. And then verse 10 says, loving money is the first step toward all kinds of trouble. It doesn't say having money, it's loving money. And I can't say this enough, that when you give, it breaks that control that money could get over your life. You don't love money when you give enough of it away. And I speak by experience. My wife and I have literally given everything we've had away 3 different times. We gave every bit of disposable extra savings, anything that we had, we gave it away, and we still had debt. I wish we could have given the debt away too. But we gave away our ability to buy a home. We gave away our ability to have a cushion. We gave away, and we did that 3 times, and then it's like something totally changed. And I just felt free from the control of money through giving. And I'm not telling you to do that. I'm just saying that giving keeps it in proper perspective. He says loving money is the first step toward all kinds of trouble. In verse 9, he said they're driven by greed, drowning in their own sinful pleasures. And let's just get to the root of the problem here. The real danger of money is this. Money has power in this world. In the fleshly world we live in, money is king. I mean, money can, I'll put it this way, money can buy all the lusts of the flesh. And if you're not committed to God and devoted to God and have your life submitted to the will of God, then, and I'm not saying that all rich people do this, but there is that danger that you begin to take money and buy the lusts of the flesh. I'm talking about going beyond pleasure, going beyond, just enjoying the good things that God has created. When you start to finance the lusts of the flesh, there's no end. The flesh cannot be satisfied. So whether it's gambling or drugs or sex or any other area in this world, you can buy all of it you want with money. And now if you don't have money, you're very limited in how far you can go. But people with lots of money and lots of time can go way out into perversion and into addiction and into problems simply because their money takes them further than they could go without it. So going down that road, whether you go a mile down the road or 100 miles down that road, is wrong. We have to be aware of these things. And I feel just as confident talking to you about this as I would if I was telling you this gun is loaded and it's dangerous. Don't point it at somebody or something you don't want to shoot. And don't point it at yourself. And always keep the safety on. There are hazards that go with some of these things in this world, and we're big enough to handle it, I believe, but we need to be aware of it. So, I saw a special on some of the richest people in the world, these people in Europe that have inherited wealth. They've got castles and, they've got titles, they're counts and whatever. They've inherited generational wealth, and they're born with it. What I was surprised about was that these people were more perverse. They were involved in perversion that normal people would just be horrified by. And these people lived in it. I mean, they went so far into perversion that it was destructive. And it wasn't just one example. There was several. And I wondered, how is that true? Why would these people, of all people, get caught up in such perversion? Well, all they had was time and money. And they were able then to begin to explore the possibilities, the doors that money could open. And I'm going to tell you, those doors are all earthly. Money can't get you into heaven. Money can't buy one spiritual gift, but it can buy every lust of the flesh that you can imagine, and all those that you can't imagine. They can all be bought with money. So it's very important to realize that before you get money, that this could hurt you. So you've got to be cautious with it. And it just leads to overindulgence, and the flesh cannot ever be satisfied. So when you begin to try to gratify the flesh, there's no end to it. and if you got plenty of money, you're not going to run out of money. You know, it's a blessing for some drug addicts to run out of money. It's a blessing for an alcoholic to run out of money. Why? Because they can't just go ahead and destroy their life. They don't have enough money to do that. But boy, when you've got unlimited funds and you start down that road, the end is destruction. That's the caution. Now, look at 1 Timothy 6:18, because what we want is godly prosperity. We want the blessing of the Lord, which makes us rich and adds no sorrow with. That's what we want. We want to be able to use finances as a tool to make the world a better place, not to lead a life of corruption. 1 Timothy 6:18, he tells people with money, he tells them, don't be haughty and don't trust in uncertain riches. So what do? Verse 18, let them do good, that they be rich in good works, ready to give, willing to share, storing up for themselves a good foundation for the time to come, that they may lay hold on eternal life. So he's not saying that rich people are evil and they shouldn't have money. He's saying, here's what you do. And this is what the certain rich man that we looked at in Luke 12, he used all that money for himself. And Jesus said, and he wasn't rich toward God. Well, Timothy's going to tell us how to be rich toward God, how to do it right. You don't hoard it all up for yourself. You don't spend it on your own lust and your own desires. You don't have the idea that I've got money, I'm going to eat, drink, and be merry. That's not our goal. He says, be rich in good works. Did you know even if you have money, you can do good things? You can have some fruit. You can volunteer your time and effort. You don't have to just sit around and throw cash around. You can actually do good works, and that's positive. Then it says, be ready to give and willing to share. That's how you are rich toward God. That's how you lay up treasure in heaven. You know, all the money we invest and spend in this world stays here. It does what it does. And a certain amount of your money you've got to spend on that. So, you know, he gives us seed to sow and bread to eat. So it's fine to spend money on your needs and even some things that you want to do in life. But it's the money that we give that lasts forever. It's the money that we give that laid up for us in heaven. You can literally be rich toward God by taking part of what you have. And you don't have to be rich to do this. Anything you give is a seed sown into eternal things. It causes you to be rich toward God. Remember Nicodemus in the book of Acts. He was a Gentile. He was a Roman. Acts chapter 10. And the angel appeared to him and told him about Peter and salvation. And he said this. He said, your prayers and your almsgiving has come up as a memorial before God. So Nicodemus... I'm Nicodemus. It was Cornelius is who it was. Cornelius was the Italian. His giving, it went into, it was a spiritual gift. It lasted. It meant something in heaven. the money you spend and the money you use and invest and your retirement, your nest egg, that doesn't go beyond this life. But the money that he gave came up as a memorial before God. And so we can do this even if we don't have a lot, because the size of your gift is not measured in dollars and cents. It's measured in your overall net worth. So you can give 10%, 20%, and that's just as big a gift as a rich person giving 10 or 20% of their income. The dollars may be bigger, but the size of the gift in the eyes of God is the same. So we need to understand that in order to be blessed and have wealth, we can't let it go to our head, but let's be ready to use it. I'm just going to read it again in the words of Timothy. Let them do good, that they be rich in good works, ready to give, willing to share. What will this do? It'll store up for themselves a good foundation for the time to come, that they may lay hold on eternal life. The thing that the rich man in Luke 12 did not do was think about life beyond this one. So all of his money stayed here. You know, one of these days you are going to thank preachers for talking about giving, because every dollar that you give with the right heart is going to be remembered, and it's going to be laid up for you in heaven. And I don't know how God does that, but there's so many scriptures on this that it must be so. I mean, there is a way to lay up treasure in heaven, which means that all the money that you give to ministries and ministry and church, it counts. It's laid up in a heavenly account. It's accounted for, and it goes beyond this world. So that's the way the Bible tells us to use this wealth, because I believe you are going to be blessed. I believe your finances are going to increase. I believe prosperity is coming to you. God's going to take care of you in a great and a mighty way. And when He does, you're going to know what to do with your finances. And the best way to do that is start where you are. Everybody can give 10% of whatever they have, no matter how big or small it is. And you can begin there to give and to sow seeds, and then allow God to bring more into your hand. Well, I hope you got something out of that. That was our caution, and we're going to go on into abundance in the rest of our teachings, so you don't want to miss them. Be sure to be with us on the next episode. Until then, remember this: the good news is so good, the bad news doesn't matter.
Being blessed and prosperous is not wrong. Greg Fritz gives you an honest look at God's Word to show that God delights in the prosperity of His people. Call our helpline at 918-749-7744 Monday through Friday from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. Central Time.
I'd just like to remind you that we have a YouTube channel, and I would love for you to go subscribe. I'd love to push those numbers up. Check out my YouTube channel. The best way to get there is to go to the website. It'll take you right to it. And while you're there, look at a few videos. Everything that we do on this program eventually gets to YouTube, and we have it organized in series and in sequence, and it would be a great blessing to you. You can stream it anytime, anywhere, and I know those programs will be a blessing to your life.